tell you if you're not doing a Passover in Jerusalem, you know, it's not being done right. Or don't let nobody tell you that you don't have to do the Passover because we're not in Jerusalem. That was just ordained when the Most High chose that place because Solomon built the temple in his name. After that, when we went in captivity, the temple was destroyed. Guess what? We were holding our in captivities like we're doing today. The things that were written aforetime were written for our learning. So the same things we're doing today, don't think we weren't doing in the past when we were in captivity, because we were.
Verse 5, your lamb shall be without blemish, a male of the first year. Ye shall take it out from the sheep or from the goats.
So again, your lamb shall be without blemish, meaning a lamb without spot. And you shall take it from the sheep or from the goats. But mainly it was from the sheep. If you didn't have the sheep, then you used the goat. Read on.
And ye shall keep it up until the 14th day of the same month. And the whole assembly of the congregation of Israel shall kill it in the evening.
So, because we're in captivity, we can't follow the laws to a T. This is why we have grace. But then the scriptures tells you use grace what? Only in a time of need. So this is a time of need because according to the law, the Passover is not supposed to be sacrificed until the sun goes down. But because we have that grace and we have that understanding, that's why we break the lamb. Number one, we're supposed to keep it whole. We don't own stock, so we can't separate it on the 10th day, like it says according to the law. So this is where grace comes in at. You know, you rehearse the righteous acts. Why? Because the law, what we do now is a shadow of things to come. We're doing it, but we're not doing it to that full magnitude. We'll do it to that full magnitude once we're set up in our captivity. Because law, you know, if people want to get technical, lawfully, we're all doing the Passover wrong. Why? Who knows who the sons of Aaron are? Nobody. The sons of Aaron, they were the ones that were sacrificing it. But because we're a nation of kings and priests now, we're allowed to do that. Because when you read Hebrews, the 7th chapter, YHWH, he temporarily put that on the back burner once he did what? Became that sacrifice. He changed the priesthood. He changed things so now a Judite or a Levite or a Gadite can rehearse these righteous acts to the best of their ability. Everybody understands that, right?
And they shall take of the blood and strike it on the 2 side posts and on the upper doorposts of the house wherein they shall eat it. And they shall eat the flesh in that night, roast with fire, and unleavened bread, and with bitter herbs they shall eat it.
So this was basically the Passover menu. You had bitter herbs, you had your lamb, okay, you had your matzahs. And then you ate it. And everything else that was left over, from the morning time, you just burnt it.
And they shall eat the flesh in that night, roast with fire, and unleavened bread, and with bitter herbs they shall eat it. Eat not of it raw, nor sodden it all with water, but roast with fire.
So when it says no sodden it all with water, it's no lamb stew. You can't have lamb stew for the Passover. You had to roast it with fire. There was no such thing as having a lamb stew. And according to the law, the only thing that you're supposed to season your lamb with is kosher salt. When you read Leviticus, the 2nd chapter, all the Most High sacrifices were seasoned with salt because the Most High made a covenant with us by salt. So when you did, that's why it's good to know the Levitical priesthood. So if you got brothers making curry lamb and lamb with adobo and all that stuff, nah, you can't do that. Only kosher salt. All right, everybody understands that, right? And if you don't, you know, this is where grace applies. We can't stone you. You understand? Because brothers before in the past, they were doing it in a different way. And when we showed them in the scriptures how this was a sacrifice, the Passover was a sacrifice. It's just not a regular meal. It's a sacrifice. This is why you have to put your best foot forward when you're celebrating the Passover, when you're eating of the Passover, because it represents the body and the blood of YHWH. Everybody understands that, right? Come.
His head with his legs and with the puritans thereof. And ye shall let nothing of it remain until the morning. And that which remaineth of it until the morning ye shall burn with fire. And thus shall ye eat it, with your loins girded, your shoes on your feet, and your staff in your hand. and ye shall eat it in haste. It is the Lord's Passover.
So just to show you, you were given a particular instruction on how to eat the Passover. So the men, we had our staves in our hands, and what did we do? We ate it in haste. It wasn't something we were sitting back, just sipping and just eating leisurely. This is why that first, when we do that first eating of the lamb, all the men should have their staffs in their hands, and they should be standing, eating it in haste. Because think about the time frame. During that time frame, we were told that we were about to be redeemed out of Egypt. So what are you lollygagging for? What are you playing around for? This was a serious matter. See, people have to understand, when you're coming to celebrate the Passover, it's a spiritual thing. Don't make it a carnal thing. It's a spiritual thing. Don't make it a carnal thing. You have to understand that. Because you're given a proper instruction. You know, I know brothers and sisters like to get garments and everything, and that's fine. That's a good thing. But don't let that obstruct what you're here for. Because what you're really here for is to serve Christ and serve the Most High. That's what we're really here for. You understand? Everybody understands that, right? Think about the severity of this day and what this day represents. So the last thing that should be on our mind is, if we can't get a garment, then come. Look, the scriptures tells you anyway, ring your heart, not your garment. How about that? Because you can wear fringes dragging around the block, down the corner. If you're wicked, you're wicked. That's right. With them or without it. If you're wicked, you're wicked. You're going to be wicked with the fringes, without the fringes, semi-fringes tucked in. You're just going to be wicked. So put your spirit into this. Every brother and every sister should put their spirit into this, especially you brothers with wives and children. Because you don't know how long we're going to be here for. You don't. Who can tell me we're getting out of here tomorrow? Who can tell me we're getting out of here next year? Or the year after? What happens 20 years from now? Then what? You're not teaching your children what this Passover is about. That blood is on your hands. Read on.
With us, we came in here when we was teenagers, man. Now we old men.
Quick announcement for the brothers and sisters here in attendance. As the sisters are passing out the Passover portions, please hold fast. Do not eat it or drink it yet. All right? Just hang on to it. Don't eat it yet. We're going to do it as a body.
Yeah, just bear with us. I know we ran a little late, so just bear with us in the spirit of YHWH. But like the brother pointed out, like we came in as teenagers. Danyahla, myself, other brothers that we know Zabak, we were young men. We're in our 40s going into our 50s now. 40 more years, we'll be into our what? Our 60s going into our 70s. So the key is this: hold fast to your house. You don't know when he's going to come. You know, because everybody wants to see what? They want to see how when he comes back. But guess what? We might die in his kingdom. Who told us we wasn't that generation that was going to be wiped out? Who told us that? Think about that. This is why you brothers need to teach your wives and your wives to your children properly. That's what you need to do. Every brother understands that, right?
All right.
God, you teach your wives so your wives can probably teach your children. Because we don't know when we get out of here. Don't tell me what you see. I see 3 years. I don't see that. I told you that. You teach every day like it's your last, but you don't know when your last is going to be. That's the part of the gospel we don't know. That's when it talks about we know in part and we see in part. We know everything about the kingdom, how it's going to be, the joy it's going to be. What's the part we don't know? When we're going to get it. Because Moses and those men, they knew they weren't going to get it that right then and there. But they still forsook the world and followed YHWH. So what are you brothers going to do? What are you sisters going to do? Or single sisters up in here? What are you going to do? Everybody understands that, right? Read on.
Verse 12. For I will pass through the land of Egypt this night, and will smite all the firstborn in the land of Egypt, both man and beast. And against all the gods of Egypt I will execute judgment. I am the Lord. And the blood shall be to you for a token upon the houses where you are. And when I see the blood, I will pass you, and the plague shall not be upon you to destroy you. when I smite the land of Egypt. And this day shall be unto you for a memorial, and you shall keep it a feast to the Most High throughout your generations. You shall keep it a feast by an ordinance forever.
So who doesn't understand that in here? Everybody understands that, right? You're supposed to keep it as a feast forever. It's an ordinance. So it's a part of the what? The law. And this is a part of the law that we can do. So if this is a part of the law that we can do, don't take it lightly. Because this is all a part of your salvation. All this that we do is a part of our salvation. Because this goes into what law? Loving the Most High with your heart, soul, and mind. That's why the laws were simplified into 2 laws. When you love the Most High with your heart, soul, and mind, what are you going to do? You're going to keep His commandments. Right. You're going to serve Him. You're going to make sure you honor and worship and praise Him and His Son on these feast days. Because it's not about us today. It's all about what they've done for us. Right. And it's a prelude to what's going to happen in the future if we endure till the end. Because when we endure to the end and He comes back, if He comes back in our lifetimes, then that's a beautiful thing. But if He doesn't, guess what? It's still a beautiful thing. That's right. You know why? Because we're still going to be resurrected as long as you die in your house shop. Read on.
7 days shall you eat unleavened bread. Even the first day you shall put away leaven out of your houses.
So not only are you celebrating the Passover, which is the first day of unleavened bread, we are also celebrating Chag Matazawah, which is the feast of unleavened bread. Okay, because we didn't have time to knead the dough so it can rise. We were in haste. We were in haste to do what? Get out of here and get out of Egypt and be redeemed by the Most High. So for 7 days we ate unleavened bread. That signified us leaving out of Egypt in haste.
For whosoever eateth leavened bread from the first day until the 7th day, that soul shall be cut off from Israel. And in the first day there shall be a holy convocation. And in the 7th day there shall be a holy convocation to you. No manner of work shall be done in them, save that which every man must eat, that only may be done of you. And ye shall observe the feast of unleavened bread, for in this self day have I brought you, or brought your armies out of the land of Egypt. Therefore shall ye observe this day in your generations by an ordinance forever. In the first month, on the 14th day of the month at even, ye shall eat unleavened bread until the 21st day of the month at even. 7 days shall there be no leaven found in your houses. For whosoever eateth that which is leavened, even that soul shall be cut off from the congregation of Israel, whether he be a stranger or born in the land. Ye shall eat nothing leavened. In all your habitations shall ye eat unleavened bread. Then Moses called for all the elders of Israel and said unto them, Go out and take you a lamb according to your families, and kill the Passover. And ye shall take a bunch of hyssop and dip it in the blood that is in the basin, and strike the lintel and the 2 side posts with the blood that is in the basin. And none of you shall go out at the door of his house until the morning. For the Lord will pass through to smite the Egyptians. And when he seeth the blood upon the lintel and on the 2 side posts, the Lord will pass over the door and will not suffer the destroyer to come in unto your houses to smite you.
That's self-explanatory, right? That doesn't need to be broken down. Not at all. All praise to Mashiach Yahushua. Because remember, he was with us during that time period. Hold this quick fast and get 1 Corinthians, the 10th chapter. Just to show you, he was with us throughout from the beginning till the end. That's why he said, I'm the Alpha and the Omega. He started it and he's going to finish it. And only he's going to finish it. Why do you think all those black leaders failed throughout the generations? They failed because they wasn't the anointed Messiah to redeem the people. The FBI is not going to be able to infiltrate Christ. The CIA won't be able to infiltrate Christ and the army of his angels. You can't do that. There's no negotiating, no selling out. Oh, okay. Well, the brother's going to bring that out. I don't want to step
all praises. All right, 1 Corinthians chapter 10 and the first verse. Moreover, brethren, I would not that ye should be ignorant, how that all our fathers were under the cloud, and all passed through the sea, and were all baptized unto Moses in the cloud and in the sea, and did all eat the same spiritual meat, and did all drink the same spiritual drink. For they drank of that spiritual rock that followed them, and that rock was Christ, YHWH. But with many of them, the Most High was not well pleased, for they were overthrown in the wilderness.
So that's self-explanatory. We're reading that now. He was the destroyer. He was the destroyer. Okay, so YHWH was always with us throughout the generations. During the time of Daniel, he was with us. You read the song, The Three Holy Children, right? In the book of Daniel, that links up together. It said it was a fourth one in there. He looked like the Son of the Most High. So Christ was with them in the fiery furnace. So Christ was always with us. He never forsook us. We forsook him. So it's time for us to come back to the Most High and YHWH with all our heart, mind, and soul. So finish reading that.
This is the book of Exodus, chapter 12, and verse 26. And it shall come to pass, when your children shall say unto you, what mean you by this service? That ye shall say, it is a sacrifice of the Lord's Passover, who passed over the houses of the children of Israel in Egypt, when he smote the Egyptians, and delivered our houses, and the people bowed the head and worshiped.
So you see the importance of teaching your children, right? Because if you have a newborn and we're here 20 years from now, who's going to be doing the services? Your children. 20 more years, that child will be 40. If he has a child, guess what? That child will be 20. So this is the importance of doing what? Teaching our children. That's the importance of teaching our children. So we can keep this thing going no matter how long. No matter how long it takes for us to get to the kingdom, we have to make sure that we're secured by teaching our children. Everybody understands that? Come.
First off, I want to say all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Mashiach YHWH. I want to thank everybody that showed up to Cleveland, Ohio to celebrate this Passover with I Am Israel, No Division. We thank each and every one of you for coming out. Give yourselves a round of applause. Everybody looks beautiful. I want to say Barakatah, royalty, Barakatah. I want to start off with the book of Leviticus, chapter 23, verse 6 and verse 7. So within this Passover, the elder, he read how we had to remove the leaven from our houses. So I want to go into a little bit about the leaven and try to get a better understanding of what leaven is and why we are to remove it.
It's the book of Leviticus, chapter 23, verse 6. And on the 15th day of the same month, in the feast of unleavened bread unto the Most High, 7 days ye must eat unleavened bread. In the first day ye shall have an holy convocation, ye shall do no servile work therein.
So in the book of Leviticus chapter 23, we're commanded to remove the leaven. Eat any unleavened bread for 7 days. So with the removal of the unleavened bread, it starts this evening with the Passover. Quick breakdown of the definition of leaven. What leaven is a rising agent. And if you know anything about baking, you put leaven in your cakes in order for them to rise. But in the Bible, it's a twofold meaning. One, when YHWH speaks of leaven, so leaven in the parables that YHWH spake is speaking about hypocritical doctrine that has people getting puffed up, that has Israel coming up against one another in a negative way, not loving one another as we're commanded to do. Give me the book of Exodus chapter 12 and verse 19. So that's just a quick definition of what leaven is.
It's the book of Exodus, the 12th chapter and the 19th verse. And it reads, 7 days shall there be no leaven found in your houses. For whosoever eateth that which is leavened, even that soul shall be cut off from the congregation of Israel, whether he be a stranger or born in the land.
Right here, this is a physical removal of leaven. We remove the leaven from our houses, and we're commanded not to eat any leaven in order to remove it from our physical bodies. But when you go into it, it's a much deeper, more significant and spiritual meaning. This is symbolism. This is all symbolism. And let's find out what the symbolism is. Go to the book of Luke chapter 12, start at verse 1.
This is the book of Luke, the 12th chapter, and we're going to start at the first verse. In the meantime, when there were gathered together an innumerable multitude of people, insomuch that they trode one upon another, he began to say unto his disciples, first of all, beware ye of the leaven of the Pharisees, which is hypocrisy. There is nothing covered that shall not be revealed, neither hid that shall not be known. Therefore, whatsoever ye have spoken in darkness shall be heard in the light.
So as I mentioned before, YHWH spoke in parables. And just think about it. If Christ was here for everybody, why did he speak in parables? Why did he let his disciples know that what I'm speaking is for you to know, it's not for everyone? So he's telling you right there that I'm not here for everybody. I'm here for the people that were given to me, the chosen, who belong to my Father, and then my Father give me the dominion over them. So he's not here for everybody.
That's right.
But as it mentions, he says that beware of the leaven of the Pharisees, which is the hypocritical doctrine that the Pharisees were teaching Israel. They were adding in traditions of men into their doctrine. They were putting people to death, but it was not by the laws that the Most High had given us. And I'm going to give everybody just a quick insight. So if you want to spot the Pharisees, as the scriptures say, what was written aforetime was written for our learning. So just a very quick way of spotting the Pharisees is you go to the book of Isaiah chapter 8 and verse 20, and it'll tell you exactly how to spot the Pharisees. Right? Isaiah 8:20.
This is the book of Isaiah, the 8th chapter and the 20th verse. And it reads, to the law and to the testimony, if they speak not according to this word, it is because there is no light in them. I'm going to say that again. Isaiah 8:20. To the law and testimony, if they speak not according to this word, it is because there is no light in them.
So if they're not speaking according to the words that the Most High gave us in this Bible, that's a simple way to spot a hypocrite and a Pharisee. It's a lot of people. I'm going to tell you, the people that despise this Bible the most is Christians.
That's right.
Christians will tell you everything that their Pharisee pastor told them. But when you try to correct them and say, well, look, let me show you in the Bible that it does not say that. They say, no, don't open that. I don't want to see that. Just tell me. You tell me. The Bible is kryptonite to a Christian. So what exactly is that light that's not in them when they don't speak according to the laws and the testimony? That's simple. We're going to go to the book of Proverbs chapter 6 and verse 23, and that'll explain exactly what the light that's not in these hypocrites.
This is the book of Proverbs, the 6th chapter, the 23rd verse. For the commandment is a lamp, and the law is light, and reproofs of instruction are the way of life.
So that light is the law. So if they're not speaking according to the law, they're not speaking the word of the Most High. We get the book of Matthew chapter 23 and verse 27.
Right, bring it out.
It's the book of Matthew, 23rd chapter, 27th verse. And it reads, woe to you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites! For ye are like unto whited sepulchres, which indeed appear beautiful outward, but are within full of dead men's bones, and of all uncleanness. Let me read that again, Matthew 23:27. Woe unto you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites! For ye are like unto whited sepulchres, which indeed appear beautiful outward, but are within full of dead men's bones, and of all uncleanness.
So this is why we have to be unleavened. This is the reason. Just like the elder brought out a little bit earlier, it doesn't matter how big your beard is. It doesn't matter if you have your fringes on every day. It don't matter how modest you dress. Whether you have your head covers when the scriptures come out. If you filthy on the inside, you filthy on the inside. It does not matter what the outward appearance is.
That's right.
So you have to clean yourself up from the inside first. And that's what Paul was teaching the Gentiles or the Israelites that did not keep the law. He was telling them to clean yourself up on the inside first. Don't worry about getting physically circumcised. Clean yourself up. So if you're full of leaven, that's the spiritual meaning, that you're unclean on the inside to the Most High. You're full of hypocrisy and iniquity. And your heart being unclean is the spiritual leaven. That's why we have to remove it from our houses. That's the physical act. We remove it from our houses. Just think about it. I'm going to show you how everything is in the scripture. You remember when we was in the world, when we were celebrating New Year's in January, I don't know about everybody. I know that my mother would say, well, you know what? We got to clean the house up before the New Year's come in. That's scriptural, but not according to what the Most High gave us. The Most High say you have to remove the leaven. So we physically remove the leaven from our houses, and then we stay away from leaven spiritually ourselves. Because when you think about it, are not we the house of Judah? Or what? Are not we the house of Israel?
That's right.
So we have to remove the leaven from our houses as a body. of people. We can't come into the new year with the old leaven that we had last year. So we have to remove that. We can't come into the new year camp banging. We can't come into the new year on that. We can't come into the new year on Facebook arguing, disputing, debating one another, insulting one another. We got to leave that in last year. This is the new year. We have to remove that leaven from ourselves. Let me have the book of Leviticus chapter 19, start at verse 1, verse 2.
This is the book of Leviticus, the 19th chapter, verse 1. And the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, Speak unto all the congregation of the children of Israel, and say unto them, Ye shall be holy, for I am the Lord your power, Yahweh, am holy.
So we have to remove the leaven to be clean, to be separate from the world. So we have to be holy, like Father, like Son. Yahweh is our Father. He's holy. He said we have to be holy like He is.
Right.
Like father, like daughter, you have to be holy because the Most High is holy. So how do you remove that leaven? It's much easier said than done. In the book of Matthew 18, YHWH said that you have to forgive your brother 7 times 70. That's how you become holy. That's how you remove the old leaven. We have to be more patient with one another. We have to be more loving towards one another.
That's right. Right.
We have to see the value in one another.
That's right.
Because when I see the value in you, you look just like me. So I see the value in myself and we treat ourselves accordingly. So that's how you remove the old leaven. And the very first step to remove the old leaven is that you have to be able to stand in the mirror and have an open and honest evaluation of yourself and say, you know what, this is what I have problems with. So I got to work on that to take care of it. That's how you remove the old leaven. Give me the book of 1 Corinthians chapter 5, verse 6.
This is the book of 1 Corinthians, the 5th chapter, and the 6th verse. Your glorying is not good. Again, your glorying is not good. Know ye not that a little leaven leaveneth the whole lump? Purge out therefore the old leaven, that ye may be a new lump, as ye are unleavened. For even Christ our Passover, YHWH, is sacrificed for us.
So each and every one of us have been blessed to be opened up to the truth of who we are as the children of the Most High. But you can't allow yourself to get puffed up because you know who you are.
That's right.
Just a little bit of murmuring towards your brother or your sister. A small bit of backbiting. Being immoral. Being dishonest towards your brother or your sister.
Bring it out.
That'll leaven the entire body of Israel.
That's right.
Because when the spirit jumps, be that way, and you talking to your brother, and you like, man, you know what? Man, I don't like that guy, that dude right there, man. He did this and this and that. You know what? That spirit will jump on him to dislike that brother, and he don't even have a reason to do it. So that little bit of leaven will leaven the entire lump because it'll spread. We have the book of Romans chapter 12, verse 4 and verse 5.
This is the book of Romans. It's chapter 12. It's the book of Romans, the 12th chapter, and the 5th verse. Romans 12 and 4. For as we have many members in one body, and all members have not the same office, so we, being many, are one body in YHWH Christ, and every one members one of another. So we, being many, are one body in Christ YHWH, and every one members one of another.
So each and every one of us in this room is a member of the body of YHWH. Each and every one of us. We all have different levels of understanding. We all have different talents. We all have different purposes. but we're all members of the same body of Christ. So that one little piece of leaven that comes into your brother or sister, Salaki, will end up leavening the whole body. You just got to think about it when you go into the book of Joshua. When he ended up taking the spoils that he wasn't supposed to take, it ended up doing damage to the entire army of Israel because they couldn't up and go to war against the people because he sinned. So that one person, just because he sinned, did damage to the entire nation. Like when they lost about 3,000 or 4,000 members of the military just because of this one man and what he did, which he wasn't supposed to do. So we have to be accountable for one another.
That's right.
We got to correct one another in love, not in insults, because we all damaged. We got to build one another. We can't tear each other down. Let me have Colossians chapter 3, verse 5.
This is the book of Colossians, the third chapter and the 5th verse. Mortify therefore your members which are upon the earth, fornication, uncleanness, inordinate affection, evil concupiscence, and covetousness, which is idolatry.
So this is what the leaven is. This is spiritual leaven. All of these things are what spiritual leaven is. You got to think about it. Just a small bit of leaven will destroy all of us. Just think about it from a medical standpoint. You could have a toothache. You can have an infection or a cavity in one of your teeth. And that infection could spread through your bloodstream and cause you to have a cardiac arrest if it reaches your heart. That's the same reason why we have to remove the leaven from our body. If there's somebody who they can't get right, you might have to separate from them. Give them time to get themselves together. But we have to extract that tooth. We have to get rid of the leaven. Elder, could you give me 1 Peter chapter 1? Start at verse 13. Read 13 through 16.
So book of 1 Peter chapter 1. 1 Peter chapter 1 verse 13. Wherefore gird up the loins of your mind. Be sober and hope to the end for that is to be brought unto you at the revelation of YHWH. As obedient children, not fashioning yourselves according to the former lusts in your ignorance. But as he which has called you is holy, so be ye holy in all manner of conversation. Because it is written, be ye holy, for I am holy. And if ye call on the Father, who without respect of person judgeth according to every man's work, pass the time of your sojourning here in fear. For as much as ye know that ye were not redeemed with corruptible things, as silver and gold, from your vain conversation received by tradition by your fathers.
God, so we got to watch our mouths. We have to watch how we speak to one another. We have to keep our conversations in the heavens. We got to speak positively. We got to speak life into each other because it's hard. We have to endure this. You got to understand. These last 3 or 4 months, we've been bombarded by so much wickedness. You know, we had to go through dealing with Christmas, hearing Christmas carols everywhere you go, dealing with Valentine's Day, New Year's. All these things it brings you down because it's a bunch of high-level witchcraft that's involved with these things.
That's right.
So the Passover is a chance for us to revitalize, to come along like-minded people, come together, enjoy one another, keep our conversations in the heavens, speak positively, stay in these scriptures. The last scripture I'm going to go to is Matthew 6 and 33.
This is the book of Matthew, the 6th chapter, and the 33rd verse. seek ye first the kingdom of the Most High and his righteousness, and all these things shall be added unto you. Again, Matthew 6:33. But seek ye first the kingdom of the Most High and his righteousness, and all these things shall be added unto you.
All right, Shalom. Let me get 1 Corinthians, the 10th chapter, and I want to pretty much expound on what the brother just brought out, and bring some precepts out that's going to correlate to the things that was just said. So 1 Corinthians 10, verse 16 through 18.
The book of 1 Corinthians, the 10th chapter, the 16th verse. The cup of the blessing which we bless. Is it not the communion of the blood of Christ, Yahushua? The bread which ye break, is it not the communion of the body of Yahushua? For we, being many, are one bread and one body. For we are all partakers of that one bread. Behold, Israel, after the flesh, are not they which eat of the sacrifices partakers of the altar?
So like the brother brought out, it's one body, one spirit, and one mind. We're all a part of that bread. So leaven, whether it be leaven within me or one of the elders sitting here, it's going to affect us all. What we do in this walk, what we do in this truth, does not only affect you. It affects us as a nation. We didn't go into captivity as individuals. We went into captivity as a nation. This is why we must purge out that leaven. The leaven that resonates in each and every individual must be purged. If you love your brother, if you love your sister, then you would definitely have their best interests at heart. Okay? The other thing that the brother brought out, when we look at 1 Corinthians, the 5th chapter, and let's start with the 6th verse real quick. 1 Corinthians 5, I want to hit, let's get 6 through 8.
1 Corinthians, the 5th chapter, the 6th verse. Your glorifying is not good. Know ye not that a little leaven leaveneth the whole lump? Purge out therefore the old leaven, that ye may be a new lump. And ye are unleavened, as ye are unleavened. For even Yahushua our Passover is sacrificed for us. Therefore let us keep the feast, not with old leaven, with the leaven of malice and wickedness, but with the unleavened bread of sincerity and truth.
It's more than just cleaning out your cupboards and your refrigerators. Okay? When we look at it and examine it, like the brother brought out in Luke 12, we understand that leaven of the Pharisees was hypocrisy. When we look at Matthew, the 16th chapter, we understand that also the false teachings of the Pharisees and the Sadducees were considered as leaven. We see a lot of doctrines that pop up. Okay? Keep the faith in Mashiach Yahushua. Keep the commandments to the best of your ability. Okay? But at the end of the day, if you see a brother that's erring in something, whether it's lying, whether it's stealing, correct them in righteousness. Because if you turn a blind eye to it, you bear that iniquity. We read Leviticus, the 5th chapter, you bear that. This is how you understand that a little leaven leaveneth the whole lump. A lot of us turn a blind eye to a lot of things that go on within this nation, and going forward in hopes of attaining the kingdom. We must put that to rest. Okay? When we look at so like let me get Romans 5. Romans 5. Romans 5 and 12 will show you exactly how leaven that affects one affects everybody.
This is the book of Romans, the 5th chapter, the 12th verse. Wherefore, as by one man's sin entered into the world, and death by sin, and so death passed upon all men, for that all have sinned.
That leaven spread. That sin didn't just affect that one man. It affected us all. Okay? When we look at the book of James, the 1st chapter, we understand that where there's that sin, that James 1 and 13, or 15, Salakia.
This is the book of James, the 1st chapter, the 15th verse. Then when lust hath conceived, it bringeth forth sin. And sin, when it is finished, bringeth forth death.
So it continues to grow. It continues to spread. It doesn't just stop with the thought process. It grows and it gives birth unto something else and to something else, and there's a domino effect. Okay? So at the end of the day, we have to be not just accountable for our own actions as individuals, but you have to be your brother's keeper. You have to be your sister's keeper. All right? Get one more scripture. I'm going to get one more scripture. God, got you. Let's get Acts 20:6. What I want to end off with myself is that a lot of people tell you that these holy days have been nailed to the cross. They're Old Testament.
Right.
Okay? But what we'll see is that even after our Messiah was put to death, even after he risen, these days were still observed.
That's right.
They were still observed. I don't know what part of the New Testament is not being read in the churches today, but clearly they've ignored this portion, Acts 20:6.
This is the book of Acts, the 20th chapter and the 6th verse. And we sailed away from Philippi after the days of unleavened bread, and came unto them to Troas in 5 days, where we abode 7 days.
This also is to those who say that you can keep the Passover in Jerusalem, that you can keep the Feast of Unleavened Bread in our homeland. Clearly, this was observed in Greece, if you don't know where this is at geographically. So again, saints, keep the commandments and the faith in Hamashiach Yahushua. May you all be blessed. And remember to cleanse your temple.
That's right.
The things in the Old Testament, those things were a shadow of things to come. So when we look at ourselves as that temple of the Holy Spirit of the Most High, we have to clean out these spiritual cupboards. All right? Most High bless and keep you all.
Let me end up real quick with the book of Sirach, the 28th chapter, man. It's just touched my spirit. You got the apocrypha on you?
Sirach 28?
Yeah, Sirach 28 real fast. And I want all of us in here to examine these. I'm just going to go through this real quick. Just a few scriptures in there. I want all of us to examine this. Because if you had some type of discrepancy or some type of outing with anyone in your family, brother, sister, whoever it was, you should not even take this Passover meal.
Right.
Okay? If you got anything in your heart, anything in your mind against anybody in your family, friends, whoever it may be, if you didn't settle that before you came to Passover, you should not take this meal. But I just want to bring something out in the book of Sirach, the 28th chapter. I want us all to pay attention to this as we leave out of here going forward in our lives, man, when it comes down to how we deal with people who wrong us and may hurt us. You got it?
This is the book of Ecclesiasticus, or Sirach in the Apocrypha, chapter 28. He that revengeth shall find vengeance from the Lord, and he will surely keep his sins in remembrance. Verse 2. Forgive thy neighbor the hurt that he has done unto thee, so shall thy sins also be forgiven when thou prayest.
So if you got some type of malice in your heart for somebody, how you going to have malice in your heart towards somebody else, but then you got the nerve to go down on our knees and pray and ask the Most High, or stand up and ask the Most High to forgive you? You want to be forgiven by the Most High, but you still holding the malice and some type of malicious thought process towards your brother or your sister. Read.
One man beareth hatred against another, and doeth he seek pardon from the Lord? He showeth no mercy to a man which is like himself, and doeth he ask forgiveness of his own sin?
So you don't got so you got a problem with somebody that's close by you, but then you want to ask the Lord, like I said, you want to turn around and ask the Most High to forgive you for your sins. What type of sense does that make? So I want all of us to keep that in mind as you go forward in your life. You cannot revenge a brother or a sister that did you wrong and then turn around and ask the Lord to forgive you. It don't work like that. It's all about love. It's all about charity. It's all about patience. It's all about long suffering. Read.
Verse 5. If he that is but flesh nourish hatred, who will entreat for pardon of his sins?
Right, last one.
Remember thy end, and let enmity cease.
Right.
Remember corruption and death, and abide in the commandments. Remember the commandments, and bear no malice to thy neighbor. Remember the covenant of the highest, and wink at ignorance.
Let me read that last one again, man. It said, remember the commandments and bear no malice to thy neighbor. So remember these commandments and don't bear no type of malice towards your brother or your sister. Period.
Right.
Okay? Remember the covenant of the highest and do what? And that ignorance. And a lot of us have a problem with doing that when somebody wrong you. They may not know no better. So you never, I tell my brothers and sisters around me, never let someone else's emotions evoke yours.
Right.
Never do that. Always stay sharp. If somebody wrong you, it could be in complete ignorance that they wrong you, and you should wink at that. Okay? So with that being said, I'm going to pass over to the elder.
I just want to go back a little bit. So, Zion, you was bringing out about how your parents cleaned their house every New Year. See, that's in the scriptures right there.
Right.
All that's in the scriptures. That's in the law. When you read the law, the priests, they cleanse the temple in the new year. And they also reconcile for the people in the beginning of the new year. Go to Ezekiel the 45th chapter and 18th verse. Then from here we're going to go into Corinthians, the 11th chapter. Just to show you the significance of the new year. The new year is a spiritual beginning every year when the new year comes. This is where you get New Year's resolutions from. Because your mind frame has to change. You should think about what you did the year before and how could you bring yourself closer to YHWH. Every year you should do that. You shouldn't be dealing with your nationality for 3, 4, 5 years and you're still on that same level as you just came in the truth. You should always evolve into righteousness. Right.
Everybody understands that, right?
Come, so read Ezekiel the 45th chapter and start at verse 18.
There's the book of Ezekiel, chapter 45, and verse 18. Thus saith the Most High Power, in the first month, in the first day of the month, thou shalt take a young bullock without blemish and cleanse the sanctuary.
So see, that's where you get that spring cleaning from. Because in the beginning of the year, it says the first month, the first day of the month is Abib, the springtime. So this is where you get that terminology, spring cleaning, from. A lot of the things that we do today goes back into the Bible. They just put a different twist on it. So the temple was cleansed in the new year. Now in this day and age, guess what? Your body is the temple, correct?
Right.
Is not your body the temple? YHWH said your body is the temple and ye are bought with a price. That's why he said you can't defile your temple because I own it. YHWH, when he died for you, you have to understand something. You no longer belong to yourself now. You belong to YHWH. That's why everything we do in the name of who? Hamashiach YHWH. Everybody understands? Come, read on.
Verse 19. And the priest shall take of the blood of the sin offering and put it upon the posts of the house and upon the four corners of the settle of the altar and upon the posts of the gate of the inner court. And so thou shalt do the 7th day of the month. For everyone that erreth, and for him that is simple, so shall ye reconcile the house.
So what we did in the 7th day, we did this for everyone that erred and everyone that was simple. So you have to understand at the beginning of the year, you have to want to get yourself right with the Most High before you eat of the Passover. You have to get yourself right with your brothers and your sisters before you eat of the Passover. So go to 1 Corinthians, the 11th chapter, and get to the point so we can wrap this up.
It's the book of 1 Corinthians, chapter 11, and verse 23. When ye come together, therefore, into one place, this is not to eat the Lord's Supper. For in eating, everyone taketh before other. his own son. And one is hungry, and another is drunken. What? Have ye not houses to eat and drink in? Or despise ye the church of the Most High, and shame them that have not? What shall I say to you? Shall I praise you in this? I praise you not.
So in other words, it's like this. If you're hungry, you're waiting to eat, and you're not understanding the spiritual aspect of what's going on, you really don't need to be here. That's just being honest. Because the service starts late. I'm going to be honest with you. I don't know any service in any congregation that starts on time. That's just a fact. That's right. What congregation in there ever started a Passover service on time? Give me the keys to that thing. Yeah. We got to talk later.
I see you 20.
We got to talk later. Yeah. Hopefully so. Exactly. Because that's the thing. We might not show up on time. Planes delayed and everything. Man. But it's a rarity. The Elder Shaol's case, that's a good thing. We need to follow him. Right. But it happens. But the whole thing is what? Getting your mind right with YHWH and observing the day at hand. So don't come with the spirit of, like the brother talked about, have that leaven in you. You can't have that leaven in you. Because this is not that type of celebration. You have new moons and other feast days, and you have to close it on unleavened bread to do that. But on this day, it's just totally different. You are instructed to eat the Passover a certain way. You're supposed to eat it in haste. On any other feast day, you can take your time. But on the Passover, you eat it in haste.
Verse 23. For I have received of the Lord that which also I delivered unto you, that Hamashiach YHWH, the same night in which he was betrayed, took bread. And when he had given thanks, he brake it and said, Take, eat, this is my body, which is broken for you. This do in remembrance of me.
Understand, when YHWH was nailed to that cross, his body was broken. They tortured him. They tormented him. So you have to understand, when you're eating of the Lord's Supper, the significance of the Lord's Supper. Why we're doing it. Because it's commemorating what? The sacrifice that YHWH did for us. By sacrificing his body and shedding his blood to bring us back to the Most High. Does everybody understand that?
After the same manner, also he took the cup when he had supped, saying, This cup is a New Testament in my blood. This do ye as oft as ye drink it in remembrance of me. For as often as ye eat this bread and drink this cup, ye do show the Lord's death till he come. Wherefore, whosoever shall eat this bread and drink this cup of the Lord unworthily shall be guilty of the body and blood of the Lord.
Basically, it's saying